Welcome back to the deep dive. Today, we're really getting stuck into something vital for, well, building a stronger financial future here in the UK.
Absolutely. It's a topic that can seem complicated, but we want to bring some clarity.
Exactly. And this deep dive is all about helping you navigate personal finance with, more confidence. We're looking at a really powerful wealth building tool today.
And that fits perfectly with our mission at Plouta. Our whole focus is empowering you with clear, trustworthy insights to help you actually achieve financial freedom. We really believe everyone deserves access to guidance that's reliable, straightforward, transparent, and importantly, tailored to your life.
Couldn't agree more.
Now, before we really jump in, just the essential bit.
Yeah.
Everything we talk about today is general information. It's based on our research, reviewing articles, that sort of thing. It's definitely not personal financial advice for your specific situation. Remember, investments can go down, values can fluctuate, and tax rules, they can change.
Yeah, good point. Always moving targets.
So if you are unsure about anything personal, please do have a chat with an independent financial advisor.
Crucial reminder. Okay, so our mission for this deep dive. Let's properly unpack the UK ISA, the individual savings account. Because honestly, once you get your head around its potential, it can seriously speed up your wealth building journey. We're drawing from a pretty comprehensive guide, the UK ISA, Your Path to Financial Freedom. It compares the different types, looks at the habits of actual ISA millionaires. Fascinating stuff.
It really is.
Our goal here is basically to give you the shortcut, get you properly informed about ISAs and what they can do for you. So let's dig in.
Okay, so first things first, what is an ISA fundamentally? Well, it's not actually an investment itself.
Right, that's a common misconception.
Exactly. Think of it more like a protective wrapper.
Yeah.
A special type of account designed specifically to shield your savings and investments from UK tax. So any money you put in, and importantly, any returns that money makes inside the wrapper, it can grow completely free from the usual taxes.
Like a tax haven for your personal savings, almost. But there's a limit, isn't there? You can't just shield everything.
No, there's an annual limit, but it's pretty generous, actually. For this current tax year, you can put up to £20,000 into ISAs. And if you're saving for a child, there's the junior ISA, the JISA, which has its own separate allowance of £9,000.
20 grand is quite a decent chunk you can protect each year. And the tax benefits, I mean, that's the real draw, isn't it? What does that mean in practice?
Oh, it's huge, especially over the long term. That's where it really shines, because all the returns inside that wrapper are tax-free. You pay zero income tax on any interest you might get from cash or bonds held within it, zero tax on dividends you receive from shares or funds, and maybe the biggest one for investors, zero capital gains tax when you sell investments that have made a profit.
Wow, zero capital gains. That's massive.
It really boosts the power of compounding. Your money can grow and multiply much, much faster because it's not being chipped away by taxes every year.
Okay, now here's something that honestly surprised me a bit when looking at the source material. A bit of a reality check. Despite these clear benefits, the actual usage of ISAs in the UK, the stats are pretty eye-opening.
They really are quite stark. Get this. A shocking 35% of UK adults don't actually have an ISA. Any kind.
35%, that's over a third.
Yep, completely missing out on this tax-free growth. And maybe even more surprising, 22% of 18 to 24-year-olds. They're apparently entirely unaware ISAs even exist.
Wow. Nearly a quarter of young adults haven't even heard of them. If they're so good, why aren't more people, especially younger people, using them?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? And it ties right back into that Plouta mission of making financial freedom accessible. These numbers show a huge knowledge gap. The research also points to ISA usage being skewed toward higher earners, which suggests, there might be perceived barriers for people on lower incomes or just a lack of awareness.
So bridging that gap is key.
Precisely. That's what we hope to do a little bit of today, empower more people with the knowledge to actually use these things effectively.
Right. Those stats really hammer home why understanding this stuff matters. And you mentioned choice. Once people do start looking, they find there isn't just one ISA type. That can feel a bit, confusing.
It can seem that way initially, yeah, but once you break it down by what each one is for, it gets a lot clearer.
And there was that rule change recently, too, about having more than one of the same type.
Yes, that's right. You can now subscribe to multiple ISAs of the same type within your £20,000 allowance in a tax year, which offers more flexibility. But fundamentally, choosing the right ISA type still boils down to your goals, your time scale, and how comfortable you are with risk.
Okay, so let's walk through them.
Okay. First up, the cash ISA. This is probably the simplest. Them short-term savings. under 5 years, typically.
Like an emergency fund or saving for a car.
Exactly. Your emergency pot, saving for a holiday next year, a house deposit you need soon, it's very low risk. Your money's protected by the FSCS up to £85,000, just like a normal savings account. The key difference, any interest you earn is completely tax-free. Simple as that.
Okay, straightforward. What's next?
The stocks and shares, ISA. Now this is geared towards longer-term goals. Think 5 years plus, ideally much longer.
Retirement, building serious wealth over time.
Precisely. This is where you invest in the stock market shares, funds, investment trusts. So there's medium to high risk involved. Your capital's at risk, the value can go down.
Right, the classic investment warning.
But historically, this offers the best potential to beat inflation and achieve significant growth over the long haul.
Makes sense. What else is there?
Then we have the lifetime ISA, or LISA. This one's quite specific. It's designed for 2 main goals only, helping eligible first-time buyers save a deposit, or for saving towards retirement from age 60.
And it has that bonus, doesn't it?
It does, and it's a big one. A 25% government bonus on whatever you contribute, up to £4,000 a year. So you put in $4K, the government adds $1K. That's incredibly attractive.
Sounds amazing, but there's a catch.
There is a crucial catch, a big warning sign here. If you take money out before age 60 for any reason other than buying your first eligible home, you face a 25% withdrawal penalty. And because of how that penalty works, it means you could actually get back less than you originally put in. So fantastic tool, but you must understand those strict rules.
Okay, really important point on the LISA. Keep going.
Next, the Innovative Finance ISA, or IFISA. This is generally for more experienced investors. It lets you hold peer-to-peer loans, or P2P loans, within the tax-free wrapper.
Peer-to-peer lending, so lending directly to people or businesses.
Exactly. Bypassing the banks, potentially for higher interest rates, but it's high risk. Your capital is definitely at risk if the borrower defaults. And crucially, IFISAs are not covered by the FSCS protection scheme. So if the platform fails or the loans go bad, your money isn't safeguarded.
Right, so definitely one for those who understand the risks involved. And the last one?
Finally, the Junior ISA, or JSA, a great way to save or invest long-term for a child under 18. Anyone, parents, grandparents, friends, can contribute up to the £9,000 annual limit for the child. It can be a cash JISA or a stocks and shares JISA. The money grows tax-free, but it's locked away until the child turns 18. Then it becomes theirs to manage. Great for unifees, first car, that sort of thing.
Okay, that's a really clear breakdown. So as you're listening, you should be thinking, which of these fits my situation? Am I saving short-term, long-term for a house, a child?
That's exactly the first step, matching the tool to the job.
And this leads us to something that sounds almost mythical, the idea of the ISA millionaire. You hear this term, but is it real?
It absolutely is real. Thousands of, ordinary people in the UK have actually built up ISA pots worth over £1 million.
Wow. How would Ilway? For the secret stock picks.
Not really, no. That's the surprising thing. The research shows it's less about finding the next big thing and much more about discipline, consistency, and harnessing the power of compounding over decades. Time in the market, not timing the market.
Okay, so what are the actual habits? What did these people do? The platforms that track them must have identified some common threads.
They certainly have. It boils down to about 5 key habits consistently applied.
Let's hear them.
Okay, first, they started early and were incredibly consistent. Many actually began with the predecessors to ISAs, the old peeps from the 80s and 90s.
Ah, personal equity plans. I remember those.
Exactly. They just rolled them into ISAs. The fact the average ISA millionaire is often in their 60s or 70s really highlights that the biggest factor is simply time, letting that compounding work its magic.
Decades, not years. Got it. What's habit 2?
Second, they used their full allowance religiously. They made it a priority to try and contribute the maximum allowed each and every tax year. And often, they did it early in the tax year, like right after April 6th.
To get the money working for longer within that year.
Precisely. Maximize that tax-free growth time. Third habit, and this is crucial for hitting those big numbers. They invested mainly in equities. The data shows they typically held a high percentage in things like individual company shares and investment trusts, rather than playing it too safe with cash or bonds. They accepted the risk for potentially higher long-term returns.
It makes sense if you have that long time frame. Number 4.
Fourth, they held for the long term. They didn't chop and change. Crucially, they didn't panic and sell when markets inevitably dipped or crashed. They stayed invested. They often favored solid, large, dividend-paying companies. The likes of Shell, Lloyd's, Aviva, legal and general businesses they believed would endure.
Rode out the storms, essentially.
Exactly. And the fifth habit ties into that. They reinvested their dividends. Any income paid out by their investments wasn't taken out. It was put straight back in to buy more shares or units.
Ah, the power of compounding dividends, that snowball effect.
That's the one.
Yeah.
Creates a really powerful growth cycle over time.
Those habits, they sound simple on paper, but sticking to them for decades, that requires serious discipline. Which one do you think is the hardest for most people?
Oh, that's a good question. I'd probably say number 4. Holding for the long term and resisting panic. Market volatility feels scary. When things are falling, every instinct tells you to get out.
Yeah, fear takes over.
It does. These ISA millionaires seem to have had a deep-seated understanding, or maybe just faith, in long-term market growth. They treated volatility as noise, not a signal to bail out. Combine that with just consistently putting money in, almost automatically.
Set it and largely forget it approach, maybe.
Sort of, yeah. Combined with that regular investing discipline.
So let's make it real. Someone listening now, maybe they're 25, they hear this and think, okay, could I actually become an ISA millionaire? What do the numbers roughly suggest?
The math is actually quite compelling, but it underlines that point about starting early. Assuming, let's say, a fairly conservative average return of 5% per year after any fees, a 25-year-old would need to invest around £6,000 a year. That's £500 a month, consistently every year until their mid-60s, to have a shot at hitting that £1 million mark.
Okay, £500 a month from 25. What about someone who starts later, say at 40?
Well, that's where the power of compounding, or the lack of time for it, really shows. To reach the same £1 million goal by the same age, someone starting at 40 would need to invest over £16,000 a year.
Wow. Over 16 grand a year compared to 6.
Big difference, isn't it?
That really, really drives it home. The incredible power of starting early if you possibly can. And just that relentless consistency. It's less about genius, more about habit.
Absolutely. Letting time, compounding, and those tax breaks do the heavy lifting for you.
Okay, so if someone's feeling inspired now, ready to get going, what are the practical first steps?
All right, let's break it down. First, assess your goals. Get really clear. What are you saving for? What's the time frame? That helps you pick the right ISA type we talked about. Short term, maybe cash ISA. Long term, stocks and shares, first house. Lisa, maybe, if you fit the criteria.
Goal clarity first. Check.
Second, and honestly, this is vital before jumping into investing, build your emergency fund. Aim for 3 to 6 months worth of essential living expenses. Keep this somewhere safe and easy to access, like a regular savings account or potentially a cash ISA. Then think about investing.
Safety net first. Makes sense.
Third, choose your platform or provider. If you're going for a stocks and shares ISA or a Lisa, you'll need an investment platform. Don't just pick the first one you see. Compare them. Look at the fees, the choice of investments available, how easy the website or app is to use.
Do your homework on the provider. Right.
And finally, fourth, start small and be consistent. Seriously, you don't need a fortune to begin. Lots of platforms let you start with £25 a month, or maybe £50. The key is getting into the habit of regular investing. Setting up a direct debit, so it just happens automatically each month. That's far more powerful over the long run than waiting until you have a big lump sum.
Start small, start now, and make it automatic. Great advice. This whole deep dive really reinforces that the ISA framework is, well, it's a remarkably generous gift, isn't it, from the government to savers here in the UK?
It really is, yeah.
Yeah.
Underused by many, but incredibly powerful.
It offers such a simple way to build wealth completely free from tax. And while, okay, becoming an actual ISA millionaire takes a lot of time and that discipline we talked about, the core habits behind it, saving regularly, investing for the long haul, using your allowances, those are accessible to pretty much everyone, right? It's about playing the long game.
Absolutely. Whether you're just starting out building that emergency fund into cash ISA, or you're ready to begin your long-term journey with a stocks and shares ISA, just understanding these tools and actually using them is a massive, empowering step towards feeling more financially secure, more independent. It changes saving from just putting money aside to actively building something.
And it's fantastic that all these insights really stem from the kind of expertise and guidance provided by Plouta. It underlines their mission perfectly, making financial freedom accessible to everyone. empowering people with those clear, trustworthy insights, making it straightforward, transparent, and genuinely tailored to your life.
That's the goal.
Well, we really hope this deep dive has been genuinely useful for you on your own financial path. If you found value in it, please do give it a like, maybe share it with a friend or family member who might benefit. And of course, subscribe for more deep dives like this, and come join our financial wellness community.
Yes, and please, we'd love to hear your thoughts. Drop your comments below about the products we've reviewed today. ISAs themselves, what are your experiences, your tips, that potential they offer? Let's share the insights.